If you're as excited as I am about the future of the DC Universe, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about the best upcoming DC movies hitting theaters in 2025 and 2026. We've got some major updates on Superman, Supergirl, Batman, and more. So, let's jump right in and see what's coming our way. Superman, July 11, 2025. Now, I know what you're thinking, another Superman movie? But hold up, this one's got a fresh twist, and I think it's going to be a game changer for the DC Universe. So, first things first, say goodbye to Henry Cavill as Superman. I know it's tough, he was iconic in the role, but we've got a new Man of Steel in town. Enter David Corenswet. If you're not familiar with him yet, trust me, you will be. He's stepping into the cape and tights, and from what I've seen, he's got that perfect mix of charm and intensity that Superman needs. But here's the cool part, this movie isn't another origin story. We're not going back to Krypton exploding or baby Kal-El crash landing in Kansas. Instead, we're jumping right into the action with Clark Kent already established as Superman, balancing his alien heritage with his life as a mild-mannered reporter. This new direction is super interesting because it allows the story to explore who Superman is beyond the classic origin stuff we've seen a million times. James Gunn, who's writing and directing, is clearly aiming to dive deeper into Clark's dual identity, being a hero while still trying to live a somewhat normal life. We're also getting a Superman who's already familiar with the key players in his life. Lois Lane, played by the talented Rachel Brosnahan, is already in the picture. If you've seen her in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, you know she's got the chops to bring a new energy to Lois. She's sharp, witty, and I'm excited to see her dynamic with Corenswet's Superman. But wait, there's more. Gunn isn't just introducing a new Superman. He's giving us a world full of superheroes right from the start. We're talking Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Metamorpho all confirmed to appear. And these aren't just background characters, they're being played by some serious talent. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner's Green Lantern? That's going to be hilarious and awesome. Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, Eddie Cathegi as Mr. Terrific, and Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho round out what's shaping up to be an epic cast. And speaking of the cast, let's not forget Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Hoult has this incredible range, and I'm curious to see his take on one of the most iconic villains in comic book history. Plus, we've got a bunch of other characters like Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, and even Rick Flag Sr., so it's clear that Gunn is building a fully realized world here. All in all, this new Superman movie is looking like a fresh start, not just for the character, but for the entire DCU. It's got a great cast, an interesting story angle, and with James Gunn at the helm, I think we're in for something special. So mark your calendars for July 11, 2025, because this is one superhero movie you won't want to miss. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, June 26, 2026. This movie is shaping up to be a major highlight in the new DC Universe, and there's a lot to be excited about. First off, we have some thrilling casting news. Millie Alcock, known for her impressive role in House of the Dragon, is stepping into the role of Kara Zor-El. Fans are already buzzing about Alcock's casting, and it's easy to see why. Her previous performances have shown she can handle complex characters with depth and charisma. It's clear she's ready to bring a vibrant and engaging version of Supergirl to the big screen. So what's the movie about? Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is expected to explore a darker, more intense side of Kara Zor-El. Unlike the typical light-hearted superhero stories, this film will delve into Supergirl's challenging past. James Gunn, who's steering the ship for DC Studios, promises that this version of Supergirl is far from the usual portrayal. She's someone who has seen a lot of hardship, losing everyone around her before even arriving on Earth. Sounds intense, right? The film is set to release on June 26, 2026, so we've got a bit of a wait ahead. But the excitement is already building. The movie will kick off a new chapter for Supergirl, who hasn't had the spotlight she deserves since the 1984 film, which didn't quite hit the mark. Fans of the character have been waiting for a proper big-screen adaptation, and this movie could finally deliver that. James Gunn has made it clear that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow will be a fresh take on the character. Anna Nogueira is handling the screenplay, and her work has already received high praise from Gunn. Nogueira's script promises to be both unique and true to the spirit of the original comic. The film will likely draw heavily from Tom King's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, which has been well received for its compelling story. One interesting detail is that while Supergirl might not cross paths with Superman in this movie, the differences between the two characters will be highlighted. Gunn has hinted that we'll see how Supergirl's upbringing contrasts with Superman's, adding a new layer to both characters' stories. There's even a chance Superman might make a cameo, though nothing is confirmed yet. With production ramping up, we've already seen some hints about what to expect. Millie Alcock's casting has been met with approval, and her previous work suggests she's more than ready for this role. The story's focus on Supergirl's intense past and her unique story promises a fresh and engaging superhero film that's set to expand the DC Universe in new and exciting ways. Now, one thing I'm really curious about is how Supergirl's story will tie into the larger DC Universe. James Gunn has mentioned that we'll see a clear difference between Superman, who was raised with love and care on Earth, and Supergirl, who had a much tougher experience. Whether or not we'll see these two characters interact on screen is still up in the air, but either way, this movie is going to add a lot of depth to the DCU. So there you have it, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is on the way, and it looks like it's going to be something really special. Millie Alcock as Supergirl, a darker, more intense story, and a chance to finally see Kara Zor-El get the big screen treatment she deserves. I'm totally here for it. The Batman Part 2, October 2nd, 2026. The Batman Part 2 is officially on its way. If you loved Matt Reeves' take on the Dark Knight in the 2022 movie, then you're probably just as pumped as I am to see where this next chapter is going to take us. So, let's start with what we know so far. The Batman Part 2 is set for release on October 2nd, 2026, which is a little later than originally planned. It got pushed back a year from its 2025 release date. But hey, if the first movie taught us anything, it's that good things are worth waiting for. This sequel is part of the DC Elseworlds projects, meaning it's in its own separate universe from the main DCU. So, no need to worry about any crossover confusion. This Batman is doing his own thing. Now, if you're wondering whether Robert Pattinson is coming back as Bruce Wayne, the answer is a big yes. Pattinson really nailed that darker, more brooding version of Batman in the first movie, and I can't wait to see how he continues to develop the character in the sequel. He brought such a fresh, gritty vibe to the role, and it's going to be awesome to see where Reeves takes him next. And one of the coolest things about The Batman Part 2 is how it's connected to the upcoming HBO Max series about the Penguin. So this whole universe that Matt Reeves is building is really starting to take shape. The Penguin series is going to give us more of the underworld side of Gotham, and it's going to be interesting to see how that ties into what's happening in the movies. Plus, we've got the Riddler making a return, and there's talk of a new incarnation of the Joker being involved. If you thought the first movie had a creepy, intense vibe, just imagine what's in store with these two villains back in the mix. And speaking of villains, there's been a lot of speculation about what the storyline might be for this sequel. One of the big theories out there is that the Batman Part 2 could adapt the No Man's Land storyline from the comics. For those who aren't familiar, No Man's Land is this epic story where Gotham City is basically cut off from the rest of the world after a massive earthquake, turning the whole city into a chaotic battleground. If that's the direction Reeves is going, then we're in for some seriously intense action and drama. Gotham was already a pretty dark and dangerous place in the first movie, but turning it into a literal war zone, that's going to take things to a whole new level. Now, we don't have a ton of details yet about who else will be in the cast or what other characters might show up, but one thing's for sure, Matt Reeves is going to deliver something special. The first movie was such a unique take on the Batman mythos, focusing more on the detective aspect of the character and really diving into the gritty noir side of Gotham. I'm expecting more of that in the sequel, with maybe even more layers of complexity and darkness. Andy Serkis, who played Alfred Pennyworth, also confirmed that production is expected to start in early 2025. So we're still a little ways off, but knowing that the wheels are starting to turn on this project is super exciting. And let's be real, Reeves and his team are probably cooking up something epic right now. So there you have it, The Batman Part 2 is coming, and it's shaping up to be just as dark, intense, and compelling as the first one. The Brave and the Bold, TBA. If you're a Batman fan like me, you're probably already hyped about this one. It's going to be the first Batman movie in James Gunn and Peter Safran's rebooted DCU, and it's bringing a lot of fresh energy to the Dark Knight's legacy. So, let's get into it. First off, The Brave and the Bold is going to give us a brand new take on Batman, completely separate from the versions we've seen before, like Ben Affleck's more seasoned, gritty Batman, or Robert Pattinson's younger, darker take. This movie is all about retooling the character again. So we'll be seeing a new actor stepping into the role of Bruce Wayne. And honestly, I'm super curious to see who they'll cast and how they'll approach this iconic character. But here's the real kicker, this isn't just another Batman movie. The Brave and the Bold is going to introduce us to Damian Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's estranged son and the latest version of Robin. If you're not familiar with Damian, he's a pretty fascinating character. He's been trained by the League of Assassins from a young age, so he's got this whole mix of being both a highly skilled fighter and a bit of a wild card. Plus, his relationship with Bruce is super complicated, which adds a whole new layer of drama to the Batman story. This movie is going to be based on Grant Morrison's run of Batman comics from 2006 to 2013, which is where Damian Wayne really came into his own as a character. If you've read those comics, you know they're packed with intense action, deep emotional moments, and some really unique storytelling. Morrison's take on Batman and Robin was a game changer, so it's exciting to see that The Brave and the Bold will be drawing inspiration from that era. The director for this project is Andy Muschietti, who's known for his work on It and The Flash. Muschietti has shown that he can handle big, complex stories with a lot of characters, so it seems like he's a great fit for bringing this new Batman and Robin dynamic to the big screen. Now, while we don't have a release date yet, the announcement of The Brave and the Bold back in January 2023 definitely stirred up a lot of excitement. This is going to be a major part of the new DCU, and it sounds like Gunn and Safran have big plans for Batman's future in this rebooted universe. What's really cool about this film is that it's not just about rehashing the same old Batman stories we've seen before. By bringing in Damian Wayne, the film is setting up a totally different kind of Batman story. One that's not just about Bruce Wayne's fight against crime, but also about his complicated role as a father. The dynamic between Batman and Robin has always been central to the Batman mythos, but this time it's going to have a very different flavor, given Damian's background and their complex relationship. Watchmen, TBA. Warner Bros. Is once again bringing us an adaptation of Alan Moore's legendary comic Watchmen. This time, it's going to be in an animated format, and I think this could be the perfect way to capture the depth and complexity of the original graphic novel. Now, I know what you're thinking. Watchmen has already been adapted a couple of times. We had Zack Snyder's 2009 live-action movie, which had a pretty faithful take on the source material, and then there was HBO's 2019 TV series. The show was more of a sequel than a direct adaptation, and while it was critically acclaimed, it didn't last long. So, why do we need another version? Well, here's the thing. Watchmen is one of those stories that's just so rich and layered, you can explore it in different ways and still find something new. The original 12 issues that came out between 1986 and 1987 were packed with so much detail and nuance that it can be hard to capture everything in just one format. That's why I'm really excited about this new animated adaptation. This movie is going to be split into two parts, which I think is a smart move. Trying to cram everything into one film could easily result in losing some of the story's depth. With two parts, they can take their time to really dig into the plot, character development, and the intricate world that Moore and artist Dave Gibbons created. The first part is expected to drop in 2024, with the second part following in 2025. As of now, we don't have any casting details, so that's still a mystery, but what we do have is a first-look teaser, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty promising. The animation style seems to be leaning towards a more traditional, hand-drawn look, which could be a great fit for the dark, gritty tone of Watchmen. I think that by going animated, they can really play with the visuals in a way that live-action sometimes can't. Plus, the comic's unique panel structure and iconic imagery could translate beautifully into animation. Of course, the fact that it's releasing straight to streaming means it's going to be super accessible, which is great for both longtime fans and people who might be discovering Watchmen for the first time. I'm definitely keeping an eye on this one and can't wait to see what they do with it. Authority, TBA. First off, the Authority is not your typical superhero team. Unlike the classic Justice League or even the grittier Suicide Squad, these guys are known for taking things to the extreme. If you've seen Amazon Prime Video's The Boys, you got a good idea of the kind of vibe we're talking about. This team doesn't just fight the bad guys, they go all out to get the job done, and sometimes that means breaking a few rules along the way. Now, here's the scoop. Although we don't have a writer or director attached just yet, James Gunn has already hinted at some pretty intriguing connections. One of the most exciting bits of news is that the Authority will tie into the new Superman movie set to drop in 2025. Yeah, you heard that right! Maria Di Faria's character, Engineer, will first appear in Superman, setting her up for a bigger role in the Authority. This is a clever way to weave the different pieces of the DC universe together and make sure everything feels connected. So what exactly makes the Authority so different, and why should you care? For starters, the team's methods are far from conventional. They're not just about saving the day, they're about saving it at any cost. This could lead to some seriously intense and morally complex storytelling. If you're a fan of superhero stories that challenge traditional norms and dive into darker themes, The Authority is definitely one to watch. Another cool aspect is how this movie will set up future DC projects. By introducing Engineer and connecting her to Superman, The Authority is not just a standalone film, it's a piece of the larger puzzle. This interconnected approach is something that fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are used to, and it's exciting to see DC getting on board with a similar strategy. All in all, The Authority is shaping up to be a bold and exciting addition to the DC Universe. With its extreme take on heroism, connections to the new Superman, and potential for deep, morally complex storytelling, it's definitely a movie to keep an eye on. That's a wrap on the best upcoming DC movies of 2025 and 2026, and yes, one from 2024 as well. From the fresh start for Superman to the intense sequel to The Batman, and everything in between, it's clear that the DC Universe is gearing up for an epic few years. Which movie are you most excited about? Personally, I can't wait to see Joker again. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest updates. Until next time, stay super!